Good morning and welcome to the Refresh. We're so excited to be joining you again. Last week we didn't have the Refresh. We had an event that was here at the church, and it was a pretty pretty large event, and so we weren't able to get away and do that. But we're so glad to be joining you again this week. Actually, we were just talking about we have our Facebook pulled up so we can see comments and things like that. And so if you'd like to comment or if you have any questions or anything like that, we would love to be able to interact with you that way. But we were just talking about that this month we've reached 28,340 of you, and that's really incredible that we get to do this. We get to meet with you on a weekly basis, no matter where you are. I know a lot of you watch at work or wherever you are in the country or around the world. And so that's really exciting that we get to do that and be a part of that with you. And so thank you for watching today. Again, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment those things. And then also, if you'd like to comment where you're viewing from, we love to see where people are viewing. And so if pastor's ever in the area or one of us is, that we can connect with you. And so we love getting to be a part of that with you. So this week, we are starting, we're going to be talking about a message that Pastor preached Sunday called Out of the Whirlwind. And so we watch the comments on Sunday morning and kind of keep an eye on those if people are asking for prayer requests or things like that. And even before we got to the message, people were commenting and saying, pray for me. I have this struggle going on. I have this thing going on in my life that's like chaos or something like that. And so I feel like this message was just right on time for a lot of us. And it's important to remember some of these things. So we're going to jump right in and kind of talk about that. So Adam, tell us a little bit about like the basic story behind the message, and then we'll get into some of the points.
So it's going through the story of Job, and there we go. It's going through the story of Job and how basically Job, he had it made. He had everything that he could have really ever wanted. He was living his life to the fullest. He was blessed all the way. And then in comes the devil, you know. And he comes in there and he says, all this and that and whatever. And God says, have you seen my servant Job? He's a great dude. Look at all this stuff he's got. Look at all the things he's doing. Look at how much he worships me. It's amazing. And the devil says, yeah, and that's just because of the stuff he's got. I bet you if he were to not have any of that stuff, he would curse you, he would do this, he would do that, whatever. So God said, all right, I'll pull my protection off from him, do what you wish, and just watch. And that's how we get into this story.
Right. And Job's life, it seems like he has a lot going on. He's got everything in the right order. He's got everything made, and then along comes this time, and God actually proposes that, like you said, that Satan try to tempt Job. And so, I don't think any of us want to be in that position, but a lot of times that's what it seems like. Is we're like, man, this is all going well, or like it seems like we can't get past a certain moment. But I think every person at some point or another feels like they're in the middle of a whirlwind. I was born in Oklahoma, and a lot of my family's from Oklahoma, and so when tornadoes happen in Oklahoma, people go out on the front porch and watch them come in. Oklahoma's pretty flat, and so you can see them coming from a long way away. But when they're coming towards you, it seems like it's this inescapable thing, right? And I think that's important that we realize that in the moment it seems like there's nothing that could stop this thing. There's nothing that could make it change directions, or it's not survivable or any of these things. And I think that we have to remember that everyone faces whirlwinds. Everyone faces those things. And Pastor said that. Actually said everyone faces whirlwinds. Bad people along with good people face a whirlwind. Religious people as well as heathens. Basically, anyone from any stage of life is going to have a point in their life where they feel like this is a moment that's inescapable. It's something that I can't get past. It's something that I'm not going to survive, and that can seem like a pretty desperate place to be.
Yeah.
It can seem like a place that nobody wants to face those things, and in this situation, that's Job gets to that point where he's cutting himself with clay pots. He's doing all these things, and in those moments when his friends should have come and said, like, hey, we're going to help you. This is going to get better. We're going to get past this. Ultimately, they say the opposite.
Yeah.
And so whirlwinds. So one of the first things Pastor said was whirlwinds are times of chaos, struggle, disorder, resistance, confusion, bewilderment. And that's kind of where we started off. So tell us something in the message this week that really stood out to you, something that kind of maybe made you think differently about a whirlwind, or made you think differently about Job's situation, or something like that.
Well, one of the big points that he made was that, a lot of people look at this and we take the view of Job's friends.
Right.
Like, oh, you are, if you're a good person, good things will happen to you. But if you're a bad person, bad things are going to happen to you.
Right.
So very clearly, if all these bad things are happening to you, you must have done something wrong. You must have committed some evil act or whatever. You're not as righteous as we thought you were. And so that's why all these terrible, terrible things are happening.
Right.
And it's kind of changing it from, maybe it's not something that you did wrong, or maybe that just life is wrong. What if it's because you're serving God so well that God says, Lulu, watch this. Watch this. I bet you can do whatever you want to him, and he's still going to serve me.
Yeah. Pastor likened the whirlwind to several years ago. I guess it's been about 5 years ago now. Hurricane Harvey happened, and I wasn't living in Houston at the time. I don't know if you were in the area.
I was. My house flooded in Harvey, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
So I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is about 7 hours north of here. And so right after Harvey, our church sent a team down for that. So I wasn't here during Harvey, but about 2 weeks after Harvey, our team came down and helped tear out some of the houses and things like that. And I wish I would have thought I would have put I have some pictures of some of the streets. It was just, you look down a street and it was just piles of trash and I mean, people's whole lives out on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 6 or 8 feet tall, just all the way down the road, and constantly trash trucks coming through and just throwing away people's entire lives. And what we were tasked to do was we would go in and we would determine how high up the water went on the wall, and then if it was 2 feet, then we would if it was 2 feet or higher, you had to tear up the wall up to 4 feet. You had to tear 4 feet of the sheetrock out, and then if it was 8 feet, then you had to tear down, or anywhere above 4 feet, you had to tear out a whole sheet of sheetrock, which is 8 feet tall. And so I remember tearing out these houses, and you would tear out everything except the bathroom. And so you could literally walk into people's houses and look, straight through their entire house. There was no privacy. There was no, it was just like, there's nothing in these. They're like bare houses, and people are living in them. And Pastor was saying that there's still, I think he said 180 something houses that we know of that are still like that. And basically, what happened was this natural disaster came through. It wasn't something that it wasn't something that anyone could control. It wasn't something that anyone inflicted on anyone. It's just a part of living on the Gulf. And so this happened, and then now, and what he said on Sunday was, the question becomes, what will be our response to these troubling circumstances we've experienced and to the month of work which lies ahead? And that's, I think that was probably the biggest thing that I saw when I came down after Harvey, was that all these people, the homeowners were there, and a lot of them had already done the work. They were already tearing their house out. They were already doing those things. And then, those were we were going into these houses and people were doing everything that they knew to do to move beyond the effects of the whirlwind. And I think that that's what we have to remember is that whirlwinds are going to come. I think the term natural disaster could be applied to this. It's natural. It's a part of everyone's life. We're all going to have to face disasters. And when that happens, we can either say, you know what, I'm going to give up. I'm just going to, forget that house and I'm going to move on and do whatever, or I'm going to fight for my property and what God has given us. And so I think that's the question that we have to ask ourselves is when these things do come, and they will, when they do come, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to say, you know what, I'm done with Christianity, I'm done with a relationship with God, I'm done with this, or are we going to say, you know what, I'm gonna fight for what God's blessed me with and what I have in my relationship with God. One of the next things he said was, it's man's nature in his suffering to ask the question why. And then he said, it is our God-given nature to reflect on right and wrong, to consider what is our purpose, and to question and to contemplate. So tell us, have there ever been times in your life where you've done that, when you thought like, I know it's happened with me, but where you've thought, is this like supposed to happen to me? Is God still with me? Has that ever happened with you?
Yeah, and honestly, I think the biggest was whenever I broke my elbow. You can still kind of see the scar there, and it happened in this kind of moment. And in the moment, I knew it's eventually going to pass. I'll live through this. But my biggest, why did this have to happen now? Right when everything was starting to kind of come together and things were working out, and I thought life was good. Right. And all of a sudden, basically my entire world was kind of flipped upside down at that point. It was right at the end of the semester. I was about to finish off, and I was going to go get a job, and I was going to do great and everything. And then, bam, you can't even really do anything. Your arm is completely broken. It's gone. Had to go get surgery for way too much money and everything. And I was just kind of sitting there like, is this a punishment for something? Is this supposed to teach me something? Is this because of this situation or that? What's going on here, and why did this happen? Right. And I can't confidently say still whether there was a definite reason behind it. It was, really the definite reason was because I was being stupid, and that's why that's why I broke my elbow. But what was the grander purpose for that? And I still can't say.
Yeah. I think it's it's definitely natural to question when things happen to us, whether bad or good or whatever. I think it's natural that we question, where did this come from? What's the purpose for this? And Satan accuses Job, and he says Job only serves you and worships you because you have blessed him. And I think that's important for us to remember as Christians, is that it's easy to serve God when things are going well. It's really easy to serve God, and it's easy to forget God when things are going well, because when things are going well, you're not praying, you're not searching the Bible for answers to things that you don't know the answer to, because you feel like in that moment you have all the answers. Yeah. And so sometimes I think that there's a guy that was doing a teaching on prophetic ministry, and he said that he had a prophetic word for a person, and the prophetic word was that that he felt like they were going to lose someone in their family that they were very close to, and he was like, God, I can't tell them that. What am I supposed to, I can't say that to them. And he said that he felt that God told him that instead of saying that, he should say, over the next year you'll be able to lean on God more, or you'll be called to lean on God more than you ever have in the past. And I think in times of our whirlwind, that's what we have to do, is to say, okay,
Yeah.
I have the choice to either, try to fight this out on my own, or to lean on God more than I have before, and that's our choice. Pastor also said this was not just an attack on the character of Job; it was an insult to the dignity and worth of God Almighty. This challenge could not go unanswered. Job's devotion to God was to be proven in the fire of the testing, also known as the whirlwind. And so I think we're all in that position. Maybe we don't face like a literal whirlwind like Job did. Maybe we don't lose our entire family. Maybe we don't go. I mean, this is a pretty intense whirlwind.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in
It really
Job's
is.
life. But I think that we have to know and remember that when these things do happen, we have to say, God, I'm going to lean on you, no matter what. There are gifts of the there are things that that we go through that are just hard, but we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to lean on God. There's a gift of the Spirit, that's the we have tongues, interpretation of tongues, prophetic words, all these different things, and there's a gift that's the gift of faith. And when I was younger, I was like, that's the one I don't want. Like, that seems like a pretty lame, of the gifts of the Spirit, like,
Yeah.
that seems like
I
a pretty lame
understand.
gift. But now that I've gotten older and, we have bills and we have these things, I find that I lean on that gift of the Spirit more than most. Because when things are hard, we have to lean on that gift of faith to trust that God has things in hand, to trust that God can take care of us, to trust that, to have faith that we're going to be able to make it through these situations and do these things. And so, I now that I'm like at an older point in my life where I have to, I have to feed kids and,
Yeah.
provide a home for my family and things like that. There are things that are more important to me now, and faith is more important to me now than when I was younger and I had a parent or someone that was providing everything for me. And so I think as we go on in life, we have to learn to be more faithful to God. And then what goes on, what happens in this story is that, after all these things happen and Job proves to be faithful, he doesn't lose faith in God. He continues to trust God. He never curses God. He never does all those things. Then God commends the faithfulness of Job and brings healing and restoration to his life. And that's in Job 42, verse 10. Starting in verse 10, he talks about all the things that he did. I don't believe Pastor talked about this on Sunday, but
No, he didn't.
He made a list of all the things that Job had. So before, Job had,
Sheep are that cheap?
and this is based on today. So Job had 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camel, 1,000 oxen, and 500 donkeys, all totaling 13,115,000. I was counting commas. $13,115,000 was his. I guess it'd be his net worth before.
Technically.
Before this happened. Afterwards, he was blessed by God with 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 2,000 oxen, and 1,000 donkeys, which is exactly double what he had before, which is a net worth of 26,230,000. And so God actually doubled what Job had because he was faithful. And so I think that that's really important. It's hard for us to sometimes be in the middle of that situation and say, I know if I'll just stay this course, I'll be blessed on the other side.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. You're sitting there and you look at it and everything seems like it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. It's the biggest part. It's staying in there, staying in the fight all the way through.
Yeah.
Even though it's the most difficult thing to do.
So it's hard to do that, but that's why it's important that we the scriptures of hiding God's word in our heart, standing on the promises of God, all of those things. That's why they're so important, is because when those moments come, we can say, no, I know that that's not the character of this person. I was talking with someone yesterday, and they were saying that someone had said something, and I said, well, that doesn't sound like them. It wasn't anything bad, but they were just saying, well, they said that. I said, well, that doesn't sound like them. And I think that that's the point that we have to get to, is that we know God well enough to say, when something like this happens, we can say that this doesn't seem like this is coming from God. This doesn't seem. I know that these are the characteristics and traits of God, and because of that, I know that this is where we're going to get to, and this is the other thing, or this is where we're going to move on to. And so Pastor asked a few questions. Right after this, we're going to go into the challenge for this week. Adam's going to share that with us. And so he asked these questions, and I think these are things that you can ask yourself. Can we stand in the midst of the whirlwind and declare the goodness of God? So when things are happening, can we say, yes, this is a bad time, but I know that God is still good? Can we stand in the midst of the whirlwind and declare God's worth? So can we say, he's still God? He's still ruler of everything. He still owns everything. Can we do that? Can we stand in the midst of the whirlwind and declare God's mighty power? Can we stand there and say, this is rough, but I know that God can handle this situation? Can we stand in the midst of the whirlwind and declare his righteous acts? Can we stand there and say, this is not a fun time, but God is still good. God is still righteous. He's still on the throne. He's still all these things. Can we do those things? And so I think that may be the challenge, is in the middle of this week, when things come to you, when things are hard in your life, and especially right now if you're dealing with a specific thing. Aubrey Dwayne said that they're fighting the whirlwind of COVID, and I know that's going around again. That's so can you stand in the middle of that, and COVID's not fun? Can you stand in the middle of that and declare the goodness of God? Can you declare his worth? Can you declare his mighty power? Can you declare his righteous acts? I think that will let you know how much faith that you have in God, and how much you can lean on his promises. So are you good with that being the challenge this week? I think
sounds like a great challenge to me.
So let's stand in the midst of the whirlwind and ask those 4 questions. In the middle of this situation, can I declare the goodness of God? In the middle of this situation, can I declare his worth? In the middle of this situation, can I declare his mighty power? And can I declare his righteous acts? And I think if you can do that, it will help you get through the whirlwind quicker. And I think that you will be blessed on the other side of the whirlwind with double what you went into it with. So Adam, if you'll pray for us, and then we have a couple of things to share with you, and then we'll let you get back to your day.
All right. Lord, thank you for this time for us to come and really rehash over this message and help for people to greater understand it and to greater apply it into their lives on an everyday basis. And I pray that as we go forward, we'll continue to be successful and helpful to people as we continue to do this. In your holy name, amen.
Amen. Aubrey Drain, we're praying for you, and thanks for watching. John Paul Rodriguez, thanks for watching today. And anyone else that's watching, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do love this. This is one of my favorite parts of the week, and I know it is for a lot of our staff and our interns. And so, thank you for joining us for that. Tonight we have youth night. If you're in the Houston Metroplex, I don't know what other interesting word I could use. If you live within driving distance of CT Houston, which could be up to 8 hours, you still have plenty of time to get here.
I guess you can.
You have 8 hours and 35 minutes to make it to CT Houston for youth night tonight. We're going to have Mike Rosas, the chaplain for the Houston Rockets, with us tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So get here for that. It's going to be an awesome time. He's a phenomenal speaker. We'll have worship. All the youth from all the campuses will be here, and so we're really excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then this weekend we have guest worship leader Eddie James is going to be with us on Sunday at 9:30, and it's going to be a really, really great time. We actually just did a worship night with him in Morrilton not too long ago, and it was phenomenal. So you don't want to miss that. And also, it is Freedom Sunday this weekend. So Project Hope and Saving Grace is going to be having their graduations this weekend, and I believe they're graduating 7 students on Sunday.
They're graduating a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great time. And then Pastor Mike Vecchio, the leader, CEO of Project Hope and Saving Grace, is going to be doing the message, and it's going to be really great. So join us for that. Good morning, Pastor Raju. We're glad to see you this morning. And so be here tonight if you can at all get here. A flight, you could pretty much get here from anywhere in the continental U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, assuming you take into account the time getting there and putting your bags in and then getting
So
out
just
and everything.
go ahead and get your plane tickets and get here tonight for youth night, and it's going to be awesome. And then Sunday we'll see you for Eddie James and Freedom Sunday. It's going to be really great. Again, thank you for being here with us, and we can't wait to connect with you again this weekend. We won't be live streaming tonight, but we will be live streaming this weekend, so we'll see you there.